Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the comic book review series. And today I am going to be taking a look at the first 10 issues of one of the most popular and iconic superhero teams in Marvel comic books history, and they are considered to be the first ever superhero family in comic book history. You know them as Reed Richards, Sue Richards, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, but the world knows them collectively as Mr. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, and the Thing, aka the Fantastic Four. So the Fantastic Four made their debut in 1961, and the Fantastic Four, as I mentioned, they were like the first ever family in comic book history, and they weren't like a group of iconic heroes like the Avengers, which comprised of all of Marvel's big names. These guys didn't really have secret identities. They were just normal guys. You had Reed Richards, who is the middle-aged, very gruff and stubborn and super serious scientist. You had his loyal and beautiful wife, Sue Richards. You had her hot-headed brother, no pun intended, Johnny Storm, who was a bit of a show-off and liked to do things his own way, and he was very brash and very cocky, and he just liked having fun. And then you have the friend of the family, Ben Grimm, Reed Richards' best friend. He was like the muscle who always looked out for Reed Richards, always looked out for everyone. So he was like the quintessential big brother slash family friend. So these guys, they would have issues with each other, just like any family would. They would always not be on the same page. And, you know, the dynamic of Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm were like siblings, you know, like brothers. And Sue Richards and Reed Richards, they were kind of like the unofficial parents, so to speak, trying to keep these guys in line with each other while trying to keep their marriage on the straight and narrow. So there was definitely family dynamics within this Fantastic Four team, no pun intended. And the origin of the Fantastic Four was Reed Richards built a rocket ship and they all went up into outer space and they got hit by a cosmic ray storm and they crash landed on Earth and they all got these amazing powers. So Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, he has the power to stretch and make himself into any shape. Sue Richards, she has the ability to be invisible and create invisible force fields. And I even remember at one point she used to make invisible bubbles. So she would become known as the Invisible Woman. Johnny Storm, of course, is the Human Torch. He can fly. He can create all sorts of different flames and fires. And obviously he always shouts out the iconic catchphrase, "Flame on!" So you have the Human Torch, and then of course Ben Grimm would turn into this Hulk-like brick man thing, hence the name The Thing. And the difference between the Hulk and The Thing, Hulk can change back to Bruce Banner and vice versa, but The Thing was permanently like that. So there's obviously a little tragic element to The Thing. You know, he can never be normal again. So clearly, these guys, the Fantastic Four, you know, they were not like the Avengers. You know, they weren't like the X-Men. You know, these guys weren't, you know, iconic heroes. They were just normal guys, as I mentioned. And the big difference between the Fantastic Four and the X-Men was everybody loves the Fantastic Four. Everybody worships them and respects them to the point where the Fantastic Four are almost like celebrities. Everybody knows who they are. They don't have to hide their true identity. You know, they can just go around in public and do their thing. And the Thing in particular, he was feared by a portion of the public, but at the same time, they grew to respect him. But the rest of the members, yeah, everybody loves them. And of course, Johnny Storm in particular, he loves the spotlight. So that goes without saying. But with the X-Men, on the other hand, everybody hates and fears them. Nobody wants these guys around. And the X-Men have always tried to hide their true identity and tried to hide their abilities and their powers while trying to do the right thing and, you know, protect the public, protect the world. The Fantastic Four was like pretty much like the X-Men, but flipped over. Everybody hates the X-Men. Everybody loves the Fantastic Four. So there's a big difference in dynamics. And I've been a huge fan of the Fantastic Four for many years. I've seen most of the cartoons. I love the comic books. Not too keen on the movies for obvious reasons. I've said in lots of past videos that I'm still waiting for the Fantastic Four to have a classic movie. Maybe we might get that one day in the MCU, but we'll see really. But as far as comic books and cartoons are concerned, love it. Got nothing bad to say about it. So for today's edition, as I mentioned at the beginning, I am going to be taking a look at the first 10 issues of the Fantastic Four from their original 1961 run, and it's compiled in a trade paperback graphic novel called Mighty Marvel Masterworks, which compiles the first 10 issues. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look through the first 10 issues of superheroes comic books first ever family. So this should be a lot of fun. And what we have here is we've got the origin. So most of this story is told in flashback. So as I mentioned, Reed Richards builds a rocket ship and they go into outer space and they get hit by cosmic rays. So I'll just show you how that all played out. As you can see there. So this is pretty much how they got their powers, really. The origin hasn't really changed that much in the last, 70 plus years or so. I know in the movies they told the story that Victor Von Doom went into space with them, which I was not really a fan of, which was dumb, really. But yeah, pretty much how it went down, really, just like that. And the Fantastic Four never got their iconic suits until, I think, around about issue 3, which we're going to take a look at now. The first villain to ever appear in the Fantastic Four was the Mole Man. And Doctor Doom would not make his debut till much later on, which we'll get into in a moment. So this is the first appearance of the Mole Man. So we'll just have a look. There he is. That's the Mole Man. Again, you know, his appearance hasn't really changed that much. And we also get to learn a little bit about Mole Man's origin, as you can see there. So, first issue with the first three stories pretty much covers the origin of the Fantastic Four, how they became the team, and Mole Man's debut and his origin as well. So it's all covered in pretty much the first issue. Now in issue 2, we get the debut of the Skrull. Now everybody who knows the Skrull, they're like alien shapeshifters, and their biggest heavy hitter, who would go on to become one of their main enemies, is Super Skrull. Super Skrull pretty much has all of the powers of the Fantastic Four, and he can use the abilities against them. Kind of similar to DC's Amazo, but he doesn't absorb their powers. He's just got the powers already. So let's have a look at the Skrulls. Yeah, that's what they pretty much were. They were just like alien shapeshifters. So issue 1 featured the debut of the Mole Man, and issue 2 featured the debut of the Skrulls. So we're just going to have a little look through. Yeah, as you can see here. So we are going to come to issue 3, and this is pretty much an important issue. I mean, the villain's not relevant to this, but the issue 3 is an important one because we get the debut of the Fantasticar, and we get the Fantastic Four costumes, those iconic blue suits. As you can see there, Miracle Man's not really a great villain, bit of a throwaway villain if I'm honest, but he's there to do what he does, so can't really help that. But yeah, so issue 1 origin, the Fantastic Four, and the debut of the Mole Man. And now, issue 2, we have the first appearance of the Skrull, and issue 3, we get the debut of the Fantastic Hulk and the Fantastic Four costumes. So the first 3 issues are the very important ones. So I'm going to have a look at the Fantastic Four's suits. So look. There we are. As you can see there, they're more like spacesuits than costumes, but obviously they worked it around and they became like proper superhero costumes. And the Fantastic Four costumes have always stayed blue, but some versions they've been blue and black. Some versions it was all blue. Some versions was blue and white, which is kind of what they went with in the 90s cartoon. And then I believe they went back to the classic, blue and black, which is the one I remember the most. But I did like the blue and white. I thought the blue and white costumes were quite colourful. So there we are. Another look there at their costumes. So issue 3 is, as I said, first appearance of the costumes. And then issue 4, we would get the debut of Prince Namor, aka the Submariner. Now, technically, Submariner is, from my understanding, the first ever Marvel character. So it's interesting to see him appear here. He's not really a villain, but he's not really a hero either. He's more like an anti-character. He flips roles depending on what he's doing, and he was pretty much like Marvel's Aquaman. But Aquaman is a heroic character, although it did do some versions where he was portrayed more as a villain. Same sort of thing here with Submariner. So let's have a look. Look at them. Submariner. So there he is. That's the Submariner there. Prince of Atlantis. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so too. So this is the first appearance of the Submariner in the Fantastic Four, but he would go on to have his own comic book later on, if you can see there. So that would be issue 4, the first appearance of the Submariner. And then we come to, you guessed it, issue 5, the first appearance of Doctor Doom. Now, Doctor Doom, in my opinion, now obviously there's debate about who is the greatest Marvel comic book villain of all time. For me, I'm going with Doctor Doom. Now, he's not powerful like a Thanos or Galactus. He was different. And Doctor Doom, he's got a history of Reed Richards, best friends, used to go to science college together, and he got burned. That's why he wears the mask, and he's got the hood and the robe or cape, whatever you want to call it. And he's pretty much like the ruler of Latveria. He's got a big scary castle. He lives like a monarch, and he's got 100% diplomatic immunity. So he pretty much runs the country. He is the damn country, and no one can touch this guy. And to me, I always looked at Doctor Doom as like Reed Richards' evil counterpart. Reed Richards is incredibly smart. Doctor Doom is incredibly smart, and he's just an incredible villain. And they've never really done Doctor Doom the justice he deserves in the movies. And I'm hoping one day we'll get to see him in the MCU. And the origin of the movies, no, that's not how he became Doctor Doom. Obviously, anyone who's read the comic books or watched the cartoons, you know how he really became Doctor Doom. So, as I said, this is the first appearance of Doctor Doom. This was in issue 5. So we're going to have a look through this. So, this is pretty much how we start here. The animated series of the 1990s pretty much adapted this storyline. So we're going to get a little bit about Doctor Doom's origin. So here we see gets burned and pretty much builds his suit and his face-plated mask. So Doctor Doom here, just like in the animated series, anybody who's seen it, you know the story episode is called The Mask of Doom. He kidnaps Sue Richards, and he pretty much sends Reed Richards and the rest of the guys on a mission to retrieve some artifacts. So he sends them back to the past. So this is pretty much the same adaptation of the cartoon. So here we go. So they go through all different periods of time trying to look for these artifacts for Doctor Doom. Really good story. You know, Doctor Doom at his scariest best. And, you know, the thing about Doctor Doom is you never really kill him off. You can never really get rid of him. And he always finds a way to escape, as you can see there. But yeah, this is issue 5 of the Fantastic Four, the first appearance of Doctor Doom. And he would go on to pretty much be the Fantastic Four's main enemy for most of their history. He would also make appearances in the Avengers. He'd also cross paths with Spider-Man. I believe he crossed paths with the Incredible Hulk at some point. And he also crossed paths with, occasionally, the X-Men. So he's not just the Fantastic Four's main enemy. He's Marvel's main enemy. Everybody's got a beef with this guy. No one likes this guy. And Doctor Doom just doesn't care. Brilliant. So we are now coming to issue 6. Doctor Doom returns, teams up with the Submariner. Most unlikely team you'll ever see here. So, as we saw in issue 5, that, you know, Doctor Doom was seemingly killed off, but you know Doctor Doom, he's always going to come back. So, Doctor Doom and Submariner are working together, and, you know, you can never trust Doctor Doom. He's not a guy to be trusted. So, a pretty decent issue, I would say. So yeah, the only person who pretty much takes Submariner's side is Sue Richards, which doesn't go down well with everybody else. So we would see here that Doctor Doom more or less turns on Submariner, but Submariner just pretty much walks away, really. So yeah, it's just pretty much that's how it goes down, like that. So we come to issue 7, and this one's all right. This is called the Master of Planet X, which is this guy here. Not as memorable as the first 6 issues, but it's okay for what it was. Kind of look at it like as a filler, but it's all right. As you can see there. So yeah, as I said, there's not much going on here. Pretty much a throwaway issue. So we're going to have a look at the next issue. And this was a good one. This is issue 8, Prisoners of the Puppet Master. Now, Puppet Master has a stepdaughter called Alicia Masters. She's blind, so she would end up being the Thing's girlfriend. And she's more like a sculptress sort of person. Like, she can make different statues out of clay, and she would play a very big role in the Fantastic Four, and she's an important character as well. So this would feature the debut of the Puppet Master and Alicia Masters. Now, the Puppet Master, on the other hand, he's got this uncanny ability to create these puppets and use like this mind control. So, for example, if he wanted to take control of the Thing, which he does in this issue, which we'll talk about in a moment, he can create the puppet of the Thing, use his telepathic mind control, and just basically control him like, no pun intended, a puppet. So, good villain. Not really a strong guy you could duke it out with. You know, he's smart. He's not Doctor Doom smart, but he's sneaky, let's say that. And he always works behind the scenes. So, there we go. That's the first appearance of the Puppet Master in issue 8. And it's, again, a lot of these stories were pretty much adapted into the animated series in the 1990s. So they don't really change that much. As you can see, that's how it all starts. more or less. Yeah, he's just like this ugly looking old man with the apron, all these puppets. Yeah, good villain, different kind of villain. So, but it's still a good villain nonetheless. So you think about a guy like the Puppet Master, he can just control anyone around the world just by making a puppet model of them. Quite a scary dude, if you ask me. So even causes prison riots as well. He even like manipulates Alicia Masters into disguising herself as the Invisible Woman, which is what happened in the cartoon as well. And she would also play a big part in the Silver Surfer story arc, which we'll talk about in a future edition. But yeah, it's a pretty good issue. And you know, obviously, Puppet Master's got his dreams and aspirations. He wants to be king of the world. But yeah, it's a very good issue. And the way it ends, he jumps out of a window, but you don't know if he survives or not. But obviously, we know he does come back eventually. So now we come to issue 9 of the Fantastic Four, and this is so silly. They're more or less evicted from the Baxter building. We see the Submariners back as well. As I said, you know, these are just more or less like throwaway stories. They battle like a Cyclops, so that's pretty cool as well. But as I said, there's pretty much like throwaway stories. I mean, there's some good stuff here. I wouldn't say the whole run was bad. Now, this is a good one. We're going to come to like the last issue now. This is issue 10, The Return of Doctor Doom. And this is quite a cool story because Reed Richards and Doctor Doom essentially swap bodies. So it's kind of like a weird Freaky Friday sort of scenario, as you can see there. It's quite a good issue. I quite enjoyed this one a lot. You see? This was a good issue. I quite enjoyed this one. So Doctor Doom has taken on the disguise of Reed Richards, and Reed Richards is disguised as Victor Von Doom, aka Doctor Doom. So I think this is one of the few times I've actually seen Doctor Doom and Reed Richards go at it. So that's quite fun. Yeah, I like this one. This was a really good issue. And this pretty much brings us to the end of issue 10. That pretty much wraps it up here. So that brings us to issue 10. So Doctor Doom has essentially been shrunk to micro size. So obviously that's setting up for the micro world of Doctor Doom, which has the Ant-Man in there. So that'll be discussed in a future edition when I get the next copy of Mighty Marvel Masterworks. So there you have it. Mighty Marvel Masterworks, Fantastic Four, the first 10 issues of the 1961 run. Really good. Very, very good. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your favourite issue from the first 10 issues of the original 1961 run of the Fantastic Four? Was it issue 1, The Origin? Was it issue 2, the first appearance of the Skrull? Was it issue 3, the first appearance of the Fantasticar and the Fantastic Four costumes? Or was it issue 4, the first appearance of the Submariner? Or was it issue 5, the first appearance of Doctor Doom? Or was it issue 6, the Doctor Doom and Submariner team-up? Or was it issue 7, the Master of Planet X? Or was it issue 8, first appearance of the Puppet Master? Or was it issue 9, the end of the Fantastic Four, where they got evicted from the Baxter building? Or was it issue 10, the return of Doctor Doom, where Doctor Doom and Reed Richards essentially swapped bodies? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the comic book review series. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe, and once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.